All right, what's going on YouTube? So today I'm going to be walking you guys through how to make a good sounding hip hop beat in Mixcraft 9, and I'm doing this really just because I don't see a lot of good walkthroughs on Mixcraft, especially Mixcraft 9, being that it just came out. There's very few things on YouTube and on the internet that shows you how to make good sounding beats on Mixcraft 9, and specifically hip hop beats. Nobody in Mixcraft 9 is really pushing out like super good hip hop beats. There are a few people, but not too many people are doing it. Especially beats that are competitive with other beats in the industry, like beats that have been made on FL, Ableton, Logic, whatever the case may be. A lot of people, a lot of people just aren't cranking out that level of beats on Mixcraft, but it can be done. That's what I'm trying to prove today, is that you really can make an incredible sounding beat with all the tools that are given to you on Mixcraft 9 Pro Studios, that is. But yeah, you can make great sounding beats on Mixcraft. It's just about the process in which you go about making the beat. That is truly crucial when you're designing a beat and, adding texture and color and so on and so forth. All these things are big when making a beat that just make a halfway decent beat a great beat. And we're going to get into that, and I'm going to show you some things that you can do to your beats that will make them sound better. But specifically for Mixcraft, this is going to be a walkthrough on what you need to do to make a good hip-hop beat. But really, you can follow these steps on any DAW that you have, and the beat's going to come out good, because these steps can be used anywhere. All right, let's get right into it. I'll go ahead and play the beat for you guys so you can see how it sounds, and then I'll walk you through my thought process on the steps I took to make this beat how it sounds. And again, I wouldn't say this beat is a finished product, but it is pretty close. It's got like a basic mix on it.
Riley run the track.
Yeah, all right, cool. So a dope little beat that I made like couple days back, and I don't know, I just like the way it sounded, and it's simple enough to where I felt like you could easily make a good walkthrough on this one. So let's just jump right into it, and I'll show you guys where I started and the steps I took to make it a final product, and then some tips and tricks along the way to show you guys how to add more texture and color to your mixes. That way they have some variation and sound just that much better. Alright, where did I start? I started right here on this sound. Super simple sound. And this is actually a stock plugin, Journeys. Great plugin, honestly, if you like natural sounds. I kind of would compare it to like some of the Contact 5 sounds that they have. It sounds a lot like that, and they have tons of them. Like, look at this. Like, there's a ton of natural sounds. If you're rocking Mixcraft and you're rocking stock plugins and you're not using this, what are you doing? Like this, I mess with that plugin a lot. Oops. Alright, so I panned that one a little bit to the left, 11%, not much. But I did that so when I layered this sound over it, I could pan that one a little to the right, 11%, the exact same amount to the right. That way they're a little spaced out in the mix, and they're not just hitting, mono at the exact same, center pan. And this is another natural sound I found, Contact 5, little African joint. I don't even know, the balafon. So do with that what you will, but it's a cool little sound. It's got kind of like a percussive type noise to it. Cool. So from there, I added in some high end, and that is a little synth pluck I found in Massive, and I did some editing to make it sound how it is, but that just gives a little variation between, you know, these 8 bars right here and these 8. And then lastly, for my verse melodies, I added in this little water flute. Again, another stock plugin, Impulse. Honestly, has a lot of cool sounds. Definitely go check it out if you're rocking Mixcraft 9. But that pad, what that pad does is it gives the melody rack a little bit of space and stereo width. And I added some stereo width also via A1 Stereo Control. Great little free plugin by Alex Hilton. Can't say enough about that. Completely free. Probably one of my most used free plugins. So that about does it for my stack of melodies and my verse. And that is where I started. And then from there, I moved on to my hi-hats just to get a little rhythm before I went into the kick and snare in 808. But when I originally started with the hi-hats, I had just a steady hi-hat roll. Not really, a roll is a bad word. Just a steady hi-hat on this bar right here, C4, and I just had it going all the way through. I didn't have these gaps in here, and I didn't have any of these rolls. I just had it steady. Again, just to get a little rhythm before I went into my kick and snare. And from there, I went down to my snare. And that's just a basic, you know, snare loop. Generally, I'll layer up on snares, but this time I just decided to do one. I thought this snare was full enough to where you didn't need to layer it up with anything. And as for effects on the snare, you don't really need to go too crazy. All I did is cut some low ends out. I used this TB parametric EQ, also a stock plugin. Excuse me, also a stock plugin with Mixcraft. I just cut out some low end up to like what? Yeah, like 120. And then I gave it a little bit of reverb, just enough to add a natural sound to it, so it doesn't sound like a computer made it, you know. And then layer that up with the snare. Sorry, the hi-hats, not the snare. And then from there, after I was done making the snare, I went back in my hi-hats and I added these rolls in. And this is really crucial for the bounce of your track in 2020. It's like industry standard. It's definitely trending when it comes to hi-hats. So what I like to do is I like to add some pitch variation, you know, kind of go down. Some 16s right here. Bring it back up, and then bring it down again. I don't know, just cool little variations, whatever you're feeling. And you would do that by going into your piano roll and just clicking around, really. Turn your snap to grid on and just click around in here. It's that simple. And if you zoom in, it goes farther into 16s, 8th notes, and then eventually, 8th notes, 16s, and then eventually 30 seconds. And again, another thing that will help add texture to your final mix is by, once you're done with the hi-hats, going into the velocities and just adding some variation, making it sound a little more natural. And what that does is it takes that consistent, and instead of hearing the exact same sound over and over again, you're giving it a little bit of volume variation. That way it doesn't wear down your ears so much, instead of just hearing the exact same volume of the same hi-hat over and over and over again. That will actually subconsciously wear you down and wear the listener down, so they're not, you know, it's not as pleasing to hear in the final mix as it is to hear volumes that are varied a little bit. Gives it a more natural sound. So that sounds like this. So here, just for example, I'll show you what it would sound like if you were to, right here, if you were to take all the velocities to the same. So there you go. And it's so subtle, but if you have a tuned ear, you can pick it up. It's just that up and down volume that makes it so much more pleasing to hear than this over and over again. Just the same volume, it's boring. You know, you can tell you didn't put time into it. It's not creative. So yeah, good trick. Go in there, change your velocities a little bit, give it a more natural sound. Duck the ones down on the kicks, bring the volumes down on those, and then you know, have the rolls have a little bit of variation, like going up and down. Like this one goes up, this one goes down, this one goes down, and then a hard one at the end, and then this one goes straight down. And then lastly, on the hi-hats, definitely the trick of the trade. And this makes all the difference. Again, a subtle but huge difference. So you go to your grid, snap that off, and then you go to your rolls, you select them, and then you drag them so they're just a little bit off of where the bar hits, like at 1.2.1. See how it's just a teeny bit off of that right here as well, and right here. That just sets those rolls apart just a little bit to where they stand out from the rest of the hi-hats. And you can see I did that on all my rolls. And it just gives them such a natural sound and a bouncy sound. One more thing on the hi-hats. I have this plugin called Pancake 2, and it's basically a panning automation plugin. And what I like to do is I like to go up to some of the higher frequencies just to give the hi-hat a little width. I'll put it on the shrill mode, and I'll show you what the shrill mode does. It basically like destroys the sound. We'll do on 26. Not a very pleasant sound like that, but if you bring it down to 26, you can hear that automation working just a little bit to pan it in kind of a stereo fashion to both your left and right ears, giving it a more unique sound and definitely a more wider sound. So that's a secret sauce as well. I do mine around 230 to like 220. So from there, once I was done with the hi-hats, I came down, put my secondary snare in, give that track a little bit of color, especially that main snare kind of plays off that. And that really creates that bounce as well. And on both of the snares, my main snare right here and my secondary snare, I added a little EQ, cut some low end out. I added this bell. On every other snare. And again, to set it apart, I gave it a little ping pong delay. Brought the mix way down, so it's just 5% overall mix right there. And I'm using Replica as my delay plugin. Great plugin, probably my favorite plugin of all time. And then from there, I went grid off, and to separate these a little more, I went zoomed in super far, and then set them off of the main snare bar just a little bit, so they kind of sit behind it, and that way the frequencies aren't hitting at the same time. They're just a little bit off, gives it a more natural sound, gives it the mix a little more color. And then from there, I moved on to my kick. And pretty straightforward on the kick. Just a bouncy little pattern I put together. I actually just recorded it on my MIDI keyboard and stuck it straight in there, quantized it, and that was it. Little variation in one spot right here. And basically all I did is have it go from, it's kind of like a roll almost, but you want these like two little off kicks right before the main kick to kind of build into the main kick, or I did it in this situation. So they just kind of go from soft to loud. Just to add a little color. Again, color is everything. Color and texture, baby. Yeah, so for my 808, I like to start off with a dynamic EQ. And basically my thinking behind this is that is actually a trick that I learned from a guy at a studio that I worked at, or I interned at. But basically what you do is you bring up your frequencies around 30, because your 808 generally comes through, the rule of thumb is your 808's generally going to come through at around 30 to 40 hertz. So you want to bring up that frequency just a little bit so your 808 will resonate in that club bass, that low end section, if that makes any sense. You want to resonate that 808 at around 30 to 40 hertz. So I brought it up, I think like 2 decibels right there, maybe less, maybe like 1.5. Okay, 1.3. So I brought it up 1.3 decibels at 30, and then at 60 hertz, let's see, yeah, 60.7. That doesn't really matter, the 0.7, but we'll just put it there. So right at around 60 is where your kick will generally come through in the mix, and you don't want your 808 and kick frequencies to be interrupting each other and like knocking at the exact same time per se. I mean, obviously they are going to, but that's where side chaining and ducking these frequencies come in. So that way when your kick is hitting, your 808's dropping down just a little bit in those frequencies. That way your kick can be a little more audible and your 808 won't be interrupting those frequencies. And that really gives you that hard hitting kick that everybody's using these days. And then from there, I actually monoed this one out via Imager, Ozone Imager. That way I could get a more exact frequency at which I was monoing, and everything below 169 hertz I monoed out. And I'm using solid bus comp for my compression, and I like to keep my threshold at around negative 3.1. I add a little makeup in there, around 5.6 decibels. I like my attack higher, around 30. I like my ratio at around 1.5. And I like my release around 0.4. Again, these are my preferred settings for 808s. It's just my preference. And then I'll throw a maximizer on there, ozone maximizer. And I'll show you. It's kind of, if you don't really know what I'm saying, it's kind of hard to explain what this is doing, but I'll just show you because that makes perfect sense. So there you go. Here's it playing with maximizer. And then if I cut that off, you just don't get that rumble. Hear it? You really, really get that rumble, that deep rumble. So I bring my threshold down at 4.5, that way I'm forcing those frequencies through there. And then I bring my ceiling down just to negative 0.2, that way I'm not peaking out super hard. Because obviously you don't want to smash it. I mean, you could if you want to, just smash the hell out of it on this. But like, it's too much, you know? You want to keep it subtle, but definitely there. Not add 4.3 and carry here, because this just makes all the difference, you know? Finally, I've got my side chain going right here. And basically what the side chain is doing is bringing the kick through the 808. So just a little bit. So when the kick is hitting, the 808's ducking down. Like the volume is quite literally decreasing. And I've got my recover around 84 milliseconds, very low. because you don't want your kick to hit and then it takes forever for your 808 to come back up to like the regular volume where it goes boom. You don't want that. You want it to go kick and then duck at the exact same time, and then as soon as the kick is through, you want the 808 to be back. So you want to keep your recover fairly low, but enough to be able to tell that your kick is punching through. And then attack, obviously you don't want too much attack. I like mine super low, but I mean, even like rule of thumb, you probably wouldn't even want to bring this above 10 ever for side chaining on 808s, that is. But the reason I keep my attack so low is because you don't want any duck to happen before, like you don't want the 808 to lose volume before the kick even hits. You want it to be simultaneous to where the kick is hitting and then the 808's going down, and then as soon as the kick is through, like it's passed through, the 808 is already back up and you can't really tell. All you hear is a punchier kick. I'll play that for you. And for purposes of this video, I've just mixed down my 808 and my kick to different audio clips. It's these exact sounds, but they're just mixed down to new audio clips. That way they're not in MIDI form. And coming over to the bridge. Really the key for any transitional part of a song or a beat is to have a little variation from the main part of the verse, and to get that variation you want to switch up. So I'm doing a lot of low end kind of punchy mid end sounds in this area, like these. A lot of mids in those, you know, and a lot of lows coming off the bass in the 808. I like to go more high end on the transitional area, the bridge in this case. And so that's where I came up with these two sounds. Really just duplicates of this pattern. Sorry, duplicates. I duplicate. More duplicates of this pattern, but just different sounds. I think they're both serum sounds. So this is like a little pad pluck. You can hear that tape stop working too. And I layered that with this little harder pluck, just to give it a little texture, a little color. And I EQ'd both. Like I said, I pulled the low end out all the way up to, let's see, 540. So nothing below 540 is coming through. And for any part of low end you want to do in a transitional area, the key is giving your ear a break. So you don't want to have like your 808 bumping the whole time, even in the transitions, because that's just going to wear the listener out. It's going to wear you out. What I like to do is add like a bass line instead of an 808, and then cut out some of the really low end just to make it a little easier in the use. And so I came up with this little, it's like a future kind of DJ drama style bass line that I designed in Massive, and I really like this bass line. Here's what it sounds like. And then for that tape stop that you're hearing, this is a great plugin, Glitch. If you like free plugins, definitely go download this one. This is like second most used plugin that I have, and it's completely free. So basically I went to here, stuck a little tape stop in right there, and I brought my slow down like relatively low, and then my speed up is a little faster, so that way you get that ear. And finally I automated the tape stop, so it's not just tape stopping the entire time all the way through the song. I went to my output mix, so I went down in this drop bar, went to glitch, went to output mix, and then you really adjust these nodes to turn it on and off. So if I bring it down, down. That way it's only hitting during the bridge. And then finally, in any track, you really need like a crash or something to add transitions in between sections, like verse to bridge to intro to what have you. So here's the crash that I went with on this track, just a splice sample that I found. And you can hear it delays a little bit because I threw Replica on the go-to. Love this plugin. Ping pong, and then I brought the mix way down, sitting at 7% on that one. And I reversed the sample to get a little build up beforehand. That way you get this cool sound right here. And that's pretty much it, people. Really the only thing left to do is arrange the beat, and just arrange it to, you know, whatever kind of audience you're catering to. If you're trying to arrange it for a listener, add more variations and transitions. And if you're trying to arrange it for a rapper, you got to have like the intro, you know, the chorus area, the verse area, the bridge area. That's all got to be clear, so when you hear it, you can understand how to rap to it, and so on and so forth. And that basically sums it up. Yeah, so I'll play it back for you guys a final time. And I appreciate you guys watching it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, definitely subscribe to me. I should be putting out more videos like this pretty soon. And hopefully we can do like some cook-up sessions, so you can just watch me make a beat. That should be pretty fun. All right, take care and have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
Riley run the track.